October 1917. For nearly 8 months, the war in southern Palestine had stalled before the Gaza-Beersheba line. 2 British assaults against Gaza had failed. The Ottoman line still stretched unbroken from the Mediterranean coast inland to the desert fortress of Beersheba. But now, General Edmund Allenby intended to destroy it, and the key was deception. Allenby planned to deliver another apparent assault against Gaza, with the real blow to fall far inland at Beersheba. The preparations for the attack on Beersheba remained concealed, and Ottoman commanders continued to believe the offensive would be at Gaza. The Turkish 7th and 19th Divisions, their main reserve formations, remained deployed behind Gaza, ready to reinforce the coastal sector. But the Ottoman armies in Palestine were deteriorating badly. Troops were poorly fed, equipment shortages were widespread, and supply was irregular, with desertions increasingly common. On the 22nd of October, Allenby issued his final orders for the offensive. On the 27th of October, British artillery began bombarding Gaza as an apparent precursor to another assault against the city. That same morning, fighting erupted inland near al-Bagar. At 8:30 a.m., the 3rd Light Horse Brigade was ordered to reinforce the 8th Yeomanry Brigade, whose outposts were under attack at points 5:50, 6:30 and 7:20. At 9:45 a.m., the brigade passed through the wire entanglements east of the Wadi Ghazi. The 9th and 10th Light Horse Regiments led the advance. The 8th followed in support. The 10th Light Horse was ordered south towards al-Bagar Ridge, while the 8th and 9th moved towards the command post of the 8th Yeomanry near Ghazal Bazal. The 9th deployed southwest of point 720. Meanwhile, the 10th established a strong defensive position on al-Bagar Ridge and awaited further orders. Captain Rosevier later recorded, at 12:45 p.m, advanced and occupied al-Bagar Ridge, came under fire from enemy machine guns and rifles from ridges about 1,500 yards east. Turks observed to be holding a line point 720 to 820 and ridges covering these points. Brisk fire. Shelling commenced about 1:30 p.m. and with machine guns and rifle fire kept on intermittently until dusk. 4 machine guns were observed. Honourable Artillery Company battery at 2:30 p.m. shelled point 720, whereby Turks were seen to evacuate and their horses stampede. The 10th Light Horse rested briefly on the morning of the 28th of October before receiving orders to march with the brigade towards the Corps concentration point at Aslaj. The regiment was then detailed as an escort to the divisional transport column, and at 3 p.m. the regiment rode out towards Bir al-Hassanieh, where it camped for the night. The following day, the men rested during the daylight hours before riding out again at 5 p.m. The regiment crossed the Wadi Malaga in thick clouds of dust, then halted at Kalasa, where the exhausted horses were watered. The desert march towards Beersheba had begun. Orders for the attack were issued on the 30th of October. British 20 Corps would attack the Ottoman defences southwest of Beersheba, between the Wadi Saba and the Kalasa Road, and the 53rd Division would protect the northern flank. These infantry assaults were intended to distract the main Ottoman force, while Chauvel's mounted troops swept around the eastern flank to seize the town and its vital wells before they could be destroyed. The Desert Mounted Corps was to cut the Beersheba-Hebron road, preventing reinforcements from reaching the town. The success of the entire operation depended upon water. Lieutenant Keogh described the battlefield. Beersheba lies on the Wadi Saba at the foot of the Judean range. There are steep rocky hills to the north, east and south of the town, which lies in a wide hollow. On the west, the ground is comparatively flat and open. On the southwest and the south, the defences consisted of a series of redoubts along the line of heights 3 to 4 miles from the town. These works were strongly built with good observation, overhead cover and some wire. The defect of the system was a lack of depth. In most places it consisted of a single line only. With the exception of a formidable redoubt at Tel el Saba, the defences east and north of the town were less strongly constructed and were without wire, since the Turks did not apprehend an attack from that direction. At 5 p.m. on the 30th of October, the 10th Light Horse led the Australian Mounted Division towards Iswaywin, arriving at 10 p.m. Meanwhile, the Anzac Mounted Division marched northeast from Asluj towards Bir al-Arara, halting briefly after midnight before continuing towards the Wadi Saba. By 8 a.m. on the 31st of October, the Anzac Mounted Division and the Australian Mounted Division were in position. Meanwhile, the infantry had completed an 8-mile night approach, deploying southwest of the town. At 6 a.m., the artillery batteries of the 60th and 74th Divisions opened preliminary bombardments. At 8:30 a.m., British infantry fixed bayonets and advanced across a frontage of nearly 5,000 yards. The first phase of the attack succeeded rapidly, with the infantry of the 60th Division capturing Hill 1070 in 10 minutes. British artillery then moved forward and shelled the main Ottoman trench line and wire entanglements. By 1:30 p.m., infantry of the 60th and 74th Divisions had broken into the Ottoman front line between the Khalasa Road and the Wadi Sabah. But east of Beersheba, the battle for Tel el Saba was becoming critical. By 9:20 a.m., the New Zealand Mounted Rifles advanced against Tel el Saba. The position dominated the eastern approaches to Beersheba. It was a steep-sided rocky mound nearly 400 yards long, garrisoned by 300 entrenched Ottoman troops supported by 7 machine guns. The supporting artillery barrage proved ineffective. The New Zealand advance quickly slowed beneath the devastating fire. Still they pressed forward relentlessly, using the Wadi Sabah as cover during the approach. At 10 a.m., the 3rd Regiment of the 1st Light Horse Brigade joined the assault from the south. Casualties mounted steadily. At 1 p.m., the 2nd Light Horse Brigade was also committed to the attack. Time was running out. At 2 p.m., the 3rd Light Horse Brigade and 2 artillery batteries were also ordered forward in support of the New Zealanders. The brigade rode in extended column, passing through an enemy artillery barrage. Upon arrival, the 9th Light Horse was ordered to attack Tel el Saba on the right flank of the New Zealand Mounted Rifles. The 9th advance mounted across open ground under shell fire, while the 10th Light Horse deployed in support within the wadi bed. But just as the Australians prepared to assault, the New Zealanders stormed the summit and captured the position. The eastern flank of Beersheba was open, but only a few hours of daylight remained. At 3:30 p.m, orders were issued for the final stage of the operation. The 1st and 3rd Light Horse Brigades advanced to isolate the town. Allenby had ordered that Beersheba must fall before nightfall. Chauvel therefore committed the 4th Light Horse Brigade to a direct mounted assault. At 4:30 p.m, the 4th and 12th Light Horse Regiments began their advance from near Kashim Zanar. The pace increased from trot to gallop. The Australians charged 4 miles across open ground under heavy but erratic Ottoman fire. The leading troops galloped directly over the enemy trenches and into Beersheba itself. Successive squadrons dismounted and attacked the trench systems on the outskirts of the town. Hand-to-hand fighting erupted across the positions, and Ottoman resistance collapsed. The attack was a complete success. Beersheba and its wells were captured. Approximately 1,100 Ottoman prisoners were taken. The Turks had wired the wells for demolition, but only 2 were destroyed before the town fell. The 4th Light Horse Brigade had achieved one of the most famous mounted attacks of the war, for the loss of only 33 killed and 36 wounded. During the evening, the 10th Light Horse exchanged shots with enemy snipers near the Hebron Road. Several snipers were killed and others were captured by patrols. C Squadron established an outpost beside the road, and at 9 p.m, a large body of Ottoman troops approached the position in the darkness. Shots rang out. The Turks returned fire and began digging in, but accurate Australian rifle and machine gun fire swept the position, and the Ottoman troops fled into the darkness, leaving 50 dead behind them. The Ottoman commanders mistakenly believed the Allies would advance directly towards Jerusalem via the Hebron Road, and 3 divisions were withdrawn from Gaza as a blocking force. The coastal defences were critically weakened. Turkish morale deteriorated rapidly after the loss of Beersheba and the turning of their flank. The Ottoman armies began withdrawing northwards towards Tel el-Sharia. The Gaza-Beersheba line was beginning to collapse. The capture of Beersheba transformed the Palestine campaign. Allenby's deception had succeeded and the wells had been captured intact. Now, for the first time, the road north lay open. Jerusalem waited.